Say it, Luna.
Hi, I'm Lai. Welcome to Discount Dive, the show where this is the way. How did you get this on sale? I don't know. Walmart was doing like a 50% off deal for Transformers for a single day. Got 86 Galvatron, got him, got Ape Link. But is this really the way? Star Wars being such a moneymaker, you figured they'd want to put their best foot forward for the crossover. And he's not bad. I think, in a way, he's a pretty good representation of Star Wars. Quite enjoyable, but the cracks start to show if you look a little too close. Except this one, he doesn't even have a crack back here, just two holes. What's up with the two holes? I don't want to spend the whole video ragging on him. I do enjoy him, and for the $27 I spent on him, I'm pretty content. The paintwork, as sparse as it is very nice. I love the scratched up stripe detailing. That's neat. Gives him a little bit of a worn in look. Me too, buddy. And for a character like the Mandalorian, who does have a very gray and brown and boring palette, I feel like they did a decent job keeping him interesting. The red pants are nice. The brown under armor is nice. Little sprinkles of gold in places are just delectable. Even gets his little iconic blue triangles. I'm a big fan of how they managed to get the backpack looking. It's like his jetpack, but with wings. Very swooshable. And the head sculpt is basically perfect. The black stripes give a lot of shadowed look. And I'm not talking about the hedgehog. Just accents the shape of it a lot more. I think a Mandalorian helmet is very difficult to get wrong, and they certainly didn't do it here, so. I think for a lot of people, a big point of contention is the shoulders. It is the trigger-happy shoulder situation, which is less than ideal. I kind of wish they'd stop doing this, but I get it for the transformation. Usually when they do it, it makes sense because of the transformation, but he also gets kneecapped by his shoulder caps. These are just very in the way. Normally cool poses like a superhero landing are made a little bit awkward. Just doesn't quite hit the same when this is blocking half of his peripheral vision. Well, I guess Mandalorians don't really have peripheral vision. Simulating line of sight for them. What if I did the whole video like this? Would you guys like that? Would you guys hit subscribe for that? Would you guys check out the Patreon? But he's got all the posability you can ask for. I will say, and it seems like this is a common problem, the waist swivel was very loose out of the box. I had to put a pretty substantial amount of goo in there, but it fixed it up eventually. It was easy enough to take apart the whole assembly. There's a little screwdriver. There's screws everywhere. You know how the holes work. Neatest part of the figure for sure is his little gun holster. He has just the tiniest little pistol. Oh, it's cute. It's so cute. I'm here to take you in. There's no menace in this. It's so goofy. But he does come with other accessories. The shield with the, what is it, a mud horn? I have watched The Mandalorian, the good seasons at least. Pops into the side of his arm, easy as you like. And that's neat as heck. He comes with what is supposed to be his rifle. Not the most convincing transformation. And it is basically just a piece of the alt mode. But it size diffs the pistol, so. And a nice sparkly cape. I like the idea of turning the fabric into a hologram. That's just cool. Come on. Energy cape. Have we seen that before? Has this been done before? Is this an original idea from Transformers and Star Wars? Unprecedented. And the shield and the cape can become part of a stand. Not a JoJo reference. I haven't consumed that yet. Cape is kind of optional, but this is really the only place to put it if you don't want it on his back. I've heard some people say that the connection between the stand and the cape is kind of scary, but it feels fine to me if I can get it on the right way. Was I already getting it on the right way? This is more for vehicle mode, obviously. Or you can bring what I think is the worst part of the set, the bassinet. It could just be my underlying disdain for Grogu as a character. I think The Mandalorian would have been a better show if they had really parted ways at the end of season 2. But as far as the plastic goes, you get the bassinet, but you do not actually get Grogu. You don't even get like a little green thing to put inside that might vaguely resemble Grogu. I don't know, it just feels like a misstep. I think people in general would have been happier if the plastic used for this was used instead for like a little clear Grogu. But there is enough room in it in case you need a little stand-in. You know, when I folded this up, I was like, that's not a bad Grogu. I drew it from memory. It's impressive, right? Anybody? Yeah. Apparently Star Wars Black Series or the Retro Series or something has a Grogu that can fit in here, but I'm not about to spend another $15 to $20 to augment this with a character I hate. So I guess for now, it just sits here. If you want to use your imagination, unlike the writers of the Star Wars movies, you can kind of act like this is a sword of sorts, you know. Of sorts. One of the things that kind of bothers me, and it's very specific, is that if you gear him up with all his stuff, let's say you even put the fake sword in his hand, this has nowhere to go. So the only way you can have the robot mode set up so that there's not stuff lying around is with the bassinet on the stand. And I do appreciate that they gave us like extra play features from this at all. Like this could have just been a stand. The fact that it does anything other than be a stand is neat. I don't know. I just wish this wasn't its own part, especially considering it doesn't come with anything to put inside it. This does not feel like a necessary play feature. Or it feels like a way to get people to buy Black Series Yoda, Grogu, whatever. They're the same. They're the same. What if Grogu was Yoda? But yeah, he's fun enough in robot mode, and I do think it's a fun transformation. There are a lot of moving parts and a lot of interesting steps. It can be a little finicky to get the chest rotated. There's like just enough clearance to get it past that. Another slight annoyance is that you can't really have the pistol in there in the starfighter mode. You can have it in there, but it feels like it's pressing in on it, and like maybe it'll snap one day if you keep doing it like that. So at least it can fit in the Grogu pod, hey. But the legs do a lot of interesting flipping around and rotating and inverting and stuff. It can be a little fiddly to get it all compressed correctly. It's a very tight space you're working with in here, but nothing ever feels like it's gonna break. The plastic all feels solid. The steps make sense. It's very intuitive, I think. Never remember which way the head is supposed to go or if it even really matters. But this whole assembly with the back rotating forward and becoming the top of the plane, or starfighter, whatever, both have wings and go brrr. That is pretty neat. Gotta make sure the hands are rotated correctly. Hello? Do they need to be fully rotated? Am I a fool? Why is this not closing? Hello? It's never done this before. I promise this never happens. Huh. Well, I don't know what was that. I don't know what that was. Well, there's an extra gap for you. This is not the gap I was looking for. A thigh gap. You might notice a small issue with this, that this panel doesn't stay flush, and that's annoying. The real issue is the parts forming. I go back and forth on how much parts forming really bothers me. I understand why it was implemented this way. I don't even know how it would have worked getting this out of the way of the chest. I think if this became part of the gun instead of being its own little nodule, its own little capsule, its own little pocket monster, I would have been less bothered. But the fact that there are two bespoke pieces that come off in a chunk like this, and that without the accessories it looks like this, I don't know. If it had come with a little baby Yoda, I would be more accepting of it. But the fact that it's just an empty pod, I don't know, it bothers me a little. But you can peg him onto the stand, and there he is, resplendent in all his n-1 starfighter glory. Terrible name, also. I would love if we stopped giving crossovers the lamest names ever. Looking at you, JP93. Also, as a massive enjoyer of season 1 of The Mandalorian, I think the Razor Crest would have been way cooler. But I understand this is the modern look. This is what we're doing right now. But a Razor Crest crossover would go crazy. It is a very nice spaceship mode, though. Whoosh. Very odd whooshing in this direction. I know this is the front, but because it's kind of an inverted spaceship, it has a different sensation. So whooshers beware. You're in for a scare. It's pretty sizable, too. Puts animated wasp about mouth height. Should have probably done a size comp in the robot mode. Let's go back. I don't mind going back. It's a fun transformation. My hopes when I'd ordered this figure was that in hand it would be better than it looked in pictures. And don't get me wrong, it looks good in pictures. It poses nicely. It's sculpted detail all out the wazoo. His wazoo is positively packed. But I mean this as a compliment as much as I mean it as an insult. He feels about as good as he looks. So if you saw the pictures and thought, oh, that doesn't look very good, you're probably not gonna get much out of him, honestly. But if you saw the pictures and thought, oh, that looks incredible, I don't mind the parts forming at all, I think you'll have a good time with them. If, like me, you are on the fence about whether parts forming is annoying or not, I don't think he's going to sway you in either direction. Like, I understand why he parts forms, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. If you have a hardline stance against parts forming, though, he is not going to change your mind. If you're a Star Wars fan, I'm sorry for insulting you so many times. It's just so easy, but it is a great looking Mandalorian. The way they integrate all of the spaceship mode parts feels good. The jetpack especially, it's so nice. But I am very glad that I didn't pay full price for him. Oh, is he backwards? Hold on. Like, I understand why it costs that much, but I would definitely be feeling some buyer's remorse. I think hardcore Star Wars fans will probably be fine paying that price. I would say a very reasonable price would be $35 to $40. He's about Voyager height and is more complex than a lot of Voyagers, but I think I got him for a steal. And seeing how often all the crossover figures tend to go on discount, I think you'll be able to eventually as well. If you're big into how he looks, you'll probably like him in hand. If you're not, I think you can give him a pass, and we will almost certainly be getting more Star Wars crossovers in the future. I hope they do it better. I think they can do better than this. But he's fun. He's fine. He's about how I feel about Star Wars in general. Note, I have not watched Andor yet. I'm going to. Maybe that will change my mind on the whole thing. But yeah, happy May the 4th. The Mandalorian says trans rights. I need a burger. And your mom would stick a fork right into daddy's shoulder, and dad would throw the garbage all across the floor as we would lay and learn what each other's bodies were for.